I think the name Daktronics and the backing of that company, knowing that they're going to be here in 5 years when we need to get a new part or whatever it might be, that's really important. So that was a key component of why we chose Daktronics.
Hello and welcome to the Daktronics Experience Podcast. I'm Justin Oxner here with Matt Anderson. Today we're joined by Jason and Deric, and we are at Folsom Field on the University of Colorado Boulder campus today. Jason, how are you doing?
Great, thank you.
And Deric, how you doing?
I mean, look at what's behind us. How can you not be great?
So we're gonna talk about this beautiful display here in a minute, but first, Jason, let's get into your history and maybe find out how you got to where you're at today with the university.
Sure, I've been here for 24 years now. Me and Deric are some of the most tenured here. But yeah, I started in 2000 and worked at various roles throughout the department, starting out working out on athletic fields, moved into facilities, game operations, and now I'm Deputy Athletic Director overseeing lots of different areas that I previously mentioned, but on top of that, capital construction. And so building the board was under my purview.
And then being in college athletics administration, was that always part of your career, I guess, and what you wanted to do? Or
not really. I mean, it just kind of happened. And yeah, typically I think people in administrative roles in college athletics move around quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I found my spot, and I've been fortunate to move up into opportunities that presented themselves. But Boulder's the place. I mean, you can see it.
Yeah, that's why I said it was great
special.
coming in and seeing it, and you're like, "Yep, never gets old."
I mean, the best part is there's 1,000 places in Boulder with views like this, and for doing a podcast, we have plenty of options.
Yeah. We come over the hill on the way in, and you can just see the campus. It sticks out down in the valley there. It's a beautiful view.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget the first time I made that drive back in 2000.
Yeah. And it looks like that every day, and it's free.
That's free.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. And Deric, we'll toss it over to you. Can you tell us about your background and how you got here?
Sure. Well, Jason and I met playing pickup basketball, I think at noon 25 years ago. We were both, half as old as we are now, but I've been here 25 years. I came from pro sports and wanted to get into the college scene, and we started the BuffVision program in 1999. So we had just put in video boards for the first time. We got a production truck, and everyone just thought it was time to add video to Folsom Field for the first time ever. And so I was fortunate enough to come in 1999 and start the program, and I've been here ever since.
Yep. And then what is your kind of role and responsibilities today?
Sure. I'm the executive director of BuffVision, which is just a long title to say I'm the video guy that handles our TV shows, our video boards, our broadcasts, highlight tapes, all the things that are video for a long time fell under the BuffVision plan. And now with social media, obviously that's exploded to all these different avenues, many of which do not fall under BuffVision. So I'm mostly on the broadcast side, that live events, again, video board stuff which is what we're talking about today. But the 3 video boards that we have in our arsenal are all under the BuffVision brand.
And then kind of like along the lines of your question though, but were you always into video stuff, tech stuff, or kind of?
Yeah, I came out of college. I wanted to be into broadcasting, but I got into video boarding, game entertainment right away. 5 days after I graduated, I started working for the Colorado Rockies. And I worked there for 3 years, and then went to the Avalanche for a year, and then I've been here for 25. So
nice.
I've always been a video geek, and this is the perfect job for that.
Was that the Pat Jordan connection then when you were over there?
Exactly right. He was the engineer while I was at the Rockies. We actually hired him, again, that was probably 30 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
So always in the Denver area.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously things are getting ready for the season here while we're on campus. Can you tell us a little bit about the excitement heading into this season as things are getting rolling and there's a game coming up?
Yeah, I mean, the excitement over the last couple of years have been incredible. People are eager to get this season started. There's a lot of hope, and a lot of people really, just so excited to get back to Folsom. It's been 9 months, and so we're excited to have them back. We get national TV Thursday night against North Dakota State. Can't beat it.
No.
And it doesn't sound like it's an easy opponent to start out with. It's going to be an exciting game, right?
Yeah, they're definitely a tough opponent. I mean, they were in the national championship last year, so they're not going to be afraid to walk out on that field and step up to the line.
That's one thing Coach Prime said a couple of weeks ago. He's like, we couldn't have started with a layup, right?
Yeah,
You had to start with,
Right.
with a sleeper. Yeah.
Okay.
No, and that's good. And just even all the excitement, obviously, from last year with Coach Prime being here and everything. And then maybe just kind of walk us through, as soon as the season was over, how long had you been thinking about maybe some upgrades that we'll definitely dive into more, but was that kind of always in the back of the mind, but after last year, excitement, everything, it was like, now is the time to kind of pull the trigger on that, or how'd that go?
I mean, we've been looking at it for a few years.
Okay.
And the board technology was getting older, and, as components are going out of date, we were having some issues that we wanted to address. And so we were able to, pull the trigger on that project. And, the project started in January physically.
Okay.
Out in the road and closing down streets and tearing down the old board. But the planning process started a year in advance of that. So we were fortunate to have the Broncos put a new board up with Daktronics just a year ago. And so we were able to go down, meet the team down there, talk through their process. And I think that was a great opportunity for us to realize, okay, this is how we should do it. And so because we were down there, that project was very successful. So we got to see it. We saw what Daktronics and Mortensen did together on that project. And so we hired Daktronics to do our board. And it made sense to bring in Mortensen with them just from the success that we saw right before that at Mile High. So put a great team together. Everybody knew everybody. We had the same foreman, superintendents, and it really set us up for success because tearing down the old board, putting up new steel, it's a process. And our site was very challenging, ton of utilities in the way. So we were happy to have an experienced team that we could count on to make that board possible. And, it was a 9-month build. So 8 months, 9 months, right? There's a deadline. It's not like, well, hopefully it works,
Right.
because we have a game. Like we needed it to be complete, and we were ahead of schedule, which is awesome.
And a caveat to the Broncos relationship is, as they put in their new board a year ahead of us, they actually gave us the spare parts from their old board to keep our board alive for the one more year before we installed this one. So that relationship with the Broncos was already really good, but really the relationship between the Broncos, the Buffs, and Daktronics made it so that we could share parts and resources and brains and all that kind of stuff to keep us alive until we were ready to put in the new board.
Okay. And that's kind of a question I had too, was, and you kind of hit it there, was at what point do you bring Daktronics in, and like what was your history with Daktronics? You've been here for a while. Have you known us for quite a while too, or at what point did you know it was just going to be like us and Mortensen? Was it that Broncos trip exactly, or when did you?
We've been working with Dak.
Shopping,
we've been working with Dak for a long time. The last board we did was over at the arena, which was 5-6 years ago. So we were very successful over there with that. I don't know. We also, you see the good things that happen, like Broncos board, our arena board. You also see some of the bad things that happen where some schools or stadiums put in a board, it's a different manufacturer, and all of a sudden that manufacturer is nowhere to be found.
Not around.
So I think the name Daktronics and the backing of that company, knowing that they're going to be here in 5 years when we need to get a new part or whatever it might be, that's really important. So that was a key component of why we chose Daktronics.
Yeah. And in 1999, when we first put a video board in to Folsom Field, we went with a different company that was out of business within 5 years. I think, like Jason mentioned, we went with Daktronics from then on that rebuild, and we've never looked back.
Because we've had lesson learned,
Yeah, you don't just put it in and turn it on and everything works. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, as you well know, right?
Services and
so we've referenced the display really quick. I'll run through the specs on that. There's that new end zone display behind us. It is 40 feet tall by approximately 117 feet wide, 10 millimeter, about 4,600 square feet of display. There's 2 displays on the back side of it. You got 3 different ribbons installed. So you were talking about that process and leading into it. Did you kind of always have that display size in mind, or did the size and how you were going to put it up come into play in those earlier months?
I think we wanted to balance a little bit. We have extraordinary views here, so we don't want the same size board as the Broncos have. And then I really think it was, Deric's leadership on how it should be. We had design teams showing us, okay, you could do this or you could do that. And it's really, Deric's vision of what the board should be so that we can do all the fun things that we want. But then our process, just from a design standpoint, we hired Populous to help us with the design of this board. And they're on campus. We have a gorgeous campus, and we have campus architects and the design review board that are instrumental in maintaining the look and feel of campus for future generations. Part of that process is going down to the design review board, and we show them version 1. And we get comments, and then we go down and show them version 2, and we get comments, and we just want everybody to walk away with a good feeling, and we want to maintain kind of the character of the campus with this new board without having it stand out. So I think the beauty of what we've completed is it looks great on the inside. It's very proportional. The ribbon boards were a huge asset that we didn't have before from a marketing and sponsorship standpoint. But on the outside of the building, we made the stadium look better at the end of the day. There was an old ticket booth that kind of was stuck onto the stadium 30 years ago, and we, made some improvements to the outside of the stadium that is, which is great for campus and the look and feel of the stadium. My favorite part about the outside of the board is that when you walk up to the stadium, it looks huge. It looks awesome. It's impressive from outside the stadium.
Sure.
But inside here, it looks proportionate.
Yeah, it does.
Looks like it's exactly the right size.
Yeah.
Some of the feedback I've gotten from people is, it looks awesome, but also it doesn't look new from the standpoint of you get this old stadium with this brand new piece of technology. It doesn't show that. It doesn't look like it's odd or out of place. It looks like it's always been there. So if you've never been to campus, you would have no idea that was a brand new piece of technology attached to the stadium. Meanwhile, the stadium and the technology are 100 years separated.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really stand out that way. And some stadiums, they add something that is just so over the top. Ours isn't that way. It feels like it's perfect.
It fits the venue.
It does,
for what,
yeah, it
what
really
you're
does.
looking for. And you even mentioned something fitting the look of campus and how the stadium does that too. That's something that maybe the pro teams like the Broncos don't have to worry about. They can kind of build whatever they want, but you kind of still have to get within that look of everything on campus with the brick and all those features. So that's another thing you have to get approved as you go down that checklist, right?
Yeah, I mean, just sitting here, if you look around, you can see buildings that have been built over the last 60, 70, 80 years. And there's a commonality to all of those buildings. And that's really the focus for campus. And that's why I think the board fits in. And it turned out great. And we got great direction and help from the design review board and our architects, as well as our partners on campus.
Definitely my first time on campus too. So I've been seeing pictures either from your social media about the installation going up as it goes. But nothing obviously compares to seeing it in person. And you guys are hitting it right on the head. It doesn't look like it stands out. It's not a huge distraction. You'll look up at it, but you don't want to take the focus off the game on the field, right? I mean, those comments from the Packers too that one time.
Yeah, they wanted to enhance the game that was happening in front of them, but not distract from it.
Idea. So then when it's getting ready for these, I know you mentioned, Deric, you were involved a lot then, but from the control side, right? Like you're wanting to play with it as soon as you can. So we always hear different things from different operators of just waiting for that power to get turned on so you can go in there and start playing with it. So was
100%.
He was very patient.
Was he?
When someone has the keys to a Ferrari and they're just dangling in front of your face, you just can't wait to grab it and take it. To the
No
point
gas in it yet, but
That's right. To the point where when Daktronics came out and just started doing their initial tech checks, I was like, well, can I provide you with something instead of doing your standard Daktronics graphics on there? The first time you fire it up, can it be something of ours?
Okay.
Right? Even though if we're not involved, I want to see our athletes on the screen instead of it just being a test pattern, and all the technicians obliged. So the first time it really got fired up, you saw the Buff logo on athletes on the screen, and everybody noticed straight
That's
away.
awesome.
Yeah, I feel like they've been hearing that more and more lately from customers.
Yeah.
The more concern over especially when it's an outdoor venue.
Yeah.
Something
where all of a sudden
visible,
anyone
yeah.
can see it and take a picture of it. They don't want the color bars or
Right.
like, you can do that stuff later, but can the first image be something from our team or our
100%.
school? But
Yeah.
so when you're getting ready for it though, I mean, working with Jason, maybe marketing, was that you already had an idea for what kind of layouts you were going to do, like in-game look versus other things, or kind of how did that go leading up? Because sometimes it looks good right on the paper, but you actually need to see it on the board to know if like things are the right size and stuff. So maybe just talk a little bit about the preparation for that.
Sure. I mean, I worked with the Daktronics sales group to get the exact dimensions so that I could mock some things up.
Okay.
So we took some various perspective shots and literally mocked up the board where it was, does the ribbon board go all the way around the bowl and essentially shrink the video board, or do we make the video board as big as possible and have two ribbon boards jutting out of the sides of it? And to be able to show that to Jason's group, our marketing group, our sales group, and let everybody be part of the process gives everybody a chance to weigh in. Because if you just describe that, a lot of people that aren't in the business go, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But if you can show it to them and you have their sponsor stuff running, or you have the game in progress running, or you have highlights running, they go, oh, I like that one over that one. And it makes that process really easy to get approval, so that when we finally got the keys to it, we
You're
had
ready to go.
half the looks already kind of made up and we could start getting after it. Because we really didn't have that much time from when we got control over it to game day. It might have been a month, 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah, and for me, I was only focused on getting it up, getting it turned on.
Yeah.
And then I'm good.
Yeah.
Then it's your problem. So I'm like, well, yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It's Deric's problem.
And his office is right above where we are. So he can look straight out his office at any time and text me like, nope, yep, that looks great. Nope. Like there's definitely a lot of feedback. And that's also been the best part, right?
Yeah.
It's so visible, it's outdoors, it's so big, it's so new. To get people on campus in athletics or in the community that care about it is pretty cool. You just can't mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we even saw that on the way in today. We saw a tweet from a CBS news reporter around here that took a picture of the board on with the logos and everything, saying
Shared
like,
that
"Oh,
out.
can't wait to see this" or whatever. But it was
I mean, it's on right now because you guys are here, but if you weren't here, it would still be on
still
as a way
on.
to get, because people walk by the stadium all the time and you can see them with their faces pressed right up next to the chain link fence trying to take pictures of it.
Oh, yeah.
So we know it's part of the tour, especially as classes have gotten started this week. So we want to show it off as much as possible.
Sure. And you were talking about getting all the things laid out and the sizes of different things. Were you talking about in-game layouts and things like that? Or were you talking about like sponsorship elements and using those ribbon boards in a new way as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Just
everything
all of it. trying to
Yeah,
get
because
it all ready.
it's all one thing. We're trying to create a show. It's not just sponsorship, then take a beat and you're playing games and you're back to sponsorship. It all has to kind of flow together. So coming up with different ways that we can make the board work for our sponsorship people, our marketing people, and the team, while at the same time making it fun for the fans. I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? And getting a tool like that, it's worth it to spend those sleepless nights figuring it out and messing with it. And the Daktronics training team that came out spent 5 days with us, and they were awesome because we got to show up prepared and they got to run us through all these scenarios, and then they just sat back and let us play with it.
there. You go.
Nice.
That was great.
Yeah, I'll jump in on the sponsorship piece too. I know our sponsorship team has been excited about the opportunity because having someone's logo on the board, almost like a static image inside the stadium that we can roll through, that has a ton of value. And I mean, it brings in a lot of revenue, and that revenue, the additional revenue we're going to make is obviously going to help our financial status here.
Yeah. So help with the price tag of the display kind of helps
bottom
go
line.
back towards it. So we've been talking a lot about the displays. When it comes to the control room, were there any new bells and whistles you got in the control room, or maybe kind of talk to that? Because you did a huge upgrade we've already talked about in the size of the display. So you had to beef up the control room a little
100%.
bit, right?
Well, if you think about what we've gone through in the last 2 years, not only with the addition of Coach Prime and the reinvention of Colorado football, but moving to the Big 12. That's a huge move to change conferences. That's also a huge partnership change for us to go from the Pac-12 network to ESPN. Big change. And then the number of events that we have live streamed, et cetera, et cetera. So Colorado Athletics has evolved so far in the last 12 to 24 months that the athletic director made a huge investment in the backbone of the broadcasting. So we invested several $100,000 worth of equipment with a new switcher, multi-channel expression, cameras, lenses, audio mixer. I mean, these are things we already had, and we were just beating the heck out of them doing events. Well, now the room has almost been reinvented. Again, if you walked in a room, you would have no idea, but we gutted it over the summer and replaced almost all the key pieces of equipment with brand new stuff, because going into new video board, new conference, new media partner, we wanted to crush all of those things. And that only happens if you have great support from your athletic director and your administrator. And we got that. So by doing that, we're prepared to show off CU athletics now into the future.
Yeah. And you're talking about some of the things you can you can display and show off, and even like stats and different things that you're doing during game. We know you've got Camino and you've got All Sport Pro and different things to help with the game information as it comes, and even showing that in a different way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Camino piece is something actually I didn't anticipate. I did not know that was coming. And it is something I wasn't prepared for. So when it was offered to us and I got the demo, I was like, that's amazing. How much does that cost? And I'm like, well, it comes with your package or comes with your board. So we've used the heck out of it. That's our game in progress is going to flank our main board. We're going to have a typical 16:9 in the middle, and then have our game in progress on the left, and then stats and things that are like on-demand stats as well during the game that I can operate. So those are tools that I didn't know we had at our disposal, but that people will recognize because they're pretty sweet.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely the you can't just put stats up there anymore. It's when things change, they got to animate or go different colors and switch on and off and different things like that too.
A little more dynamic than just showing them and then changing it quick.
Where is the control room then? Is it in the stadium or is it off somewhere else? It's always in colleges that we visit. It's always interesting to hear like, oh no, it's over in the basketball arena. On the
Well, it's not in a truck anymore.
Yeah, we
so
just have a van. We just drive around so no one can actually pinpoint us. We used to have a video trailer, TV production trailer that parked right outside. But when we made the huge investment in our basketball arena, we thought, well, we only do 6 football games or 7 with the spring game. We're going to do 30-something basketball games, another 15 volleyball games. Let's put the control room next to that.
Okay, so you did. Okay.
It's about a quarter mile away. We are fiber optically linked between basketball, the event center, and Folsom Field. And then we're also fiber optically linked to lacrosse and soccer and every other venue on campus. So we could put a camera in the library if we wanted to and live stream that. I don't think we'd get a lot of viewers, but we could.
We
could do it.
Where's the library?
Yes, it's that way. Oh, sorry.
No,
For the kids.
And that's controlling all the different displays you said. Is it so also controlling those backside displays? Maybe how are you intending to use those outside the stadium?
That's been up for a little bit of debate because we've never had that before, right? The video guy in me is like, let's do a show on the outside for the fans in the stands, or fans outside the stands. And then, of course, marketing's like, no. We want people in the stadium. We don't want people sitting outside. So there's a philosophy there that has to sort of be agreed upon. So I, of course, want it to be this, and so other people want it to be this, and so we will figure it out.
The original impetus of the outside boards, the 2 rear-facing boards, was we don't have a good way to communicate to fans that, hey, we can't let you in right now. We're under a lightning delay or some other weather delay or whatever it may be, right? And so the video boards on the outside, the first thought of that was an operational standpoint for the stadium and for our event, for our patrons that are coming to a concert or coming to a football game. As beautiful as Boulder is, every now and then we catch a lightning storm and the weather here is unpredictable. I know everybody says that, but we have thunderstorms pop up out of nowhere and all of a sudden lightning's on top of you. And so the biggest piece for those outside boards was really leading up to ingress and then really getting people into the stadium with ability to show shelter in place or show our clear bag policy. Get stuff. Let people see what our expectations are for what they're allowed to bring in, what they're not. And then I think once we get into the game, I think we're kind of, it turns kind of away from an operational thing into, okay, what do we want it to be? What do we want to do during the game? Do we want to show sponsors? Do we want to show game clips? None of that. I don't care about that.
It's a great problem to have because we've never had it before. So we have to kind of figure it out as we go. Like, what are we going to do with this new awesome tool? And everybody wants to have a piece of it. So we just have to figure that out. We also have a mobile video trailer that's also Daktronics that sits about 2 blocks away that's pointed towards our tailgate area that we just show live games, whether it's our game, during game, or pre-game for the tailgaters. So both of those things kind of working in conjunction with each other really helps our fans either be entertained or informed or both.
Yeah, and it gives us a lot of flexibility for graduation or, other events that we're going to host beyond football.
Yeah, sure.
And also a fun fact with that too is at the end of the night after a concert or a late game, not only does it provide information, it's also a great source of light so people can see where they're going, which I did not think through that. Like, oh, it's a great light source.
Put them on full white and
totally.
just let them go.
Yeah, thanks for coming, but it's like, I can see where I'm going.
Yeah, you didn't know if you were going to use those for advertising or showing, hey, time to come in, kick off 30 minutes, or sometimes people put the score of the game afterwards out there after a big win so people can take pictures of social media and say, hey, I was at the game, came away with a big W.
Yeah, I think it'll be everything and more.
It's flexible. You got plenty of options.
Yeah,
right?
no doubt.
And the difference, I think, between game one and then what we learn from game one to game two, I think is going to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like being a freshman to a sophomore. You're going to learn a lot in that gap. And then our second game will probably be significantly different.
It's the keys to Ferrari. You're not going on the interstate right now. You're just slowly driving it around, getting used to it.
Well, it's a stick, so I'm grinding the gears significantly. Yeah. You missed that earlier.
Yeah. So maybe without giving anything away, is there anything you're excited to kind of unveil other than the new technology itself, or anything you're looking to do that you haven't covered yet?
Everybody that comes to a game at Folsom Field, their favorite part is always Ralphie running. And so when you've got that big of a board, that's 3X what we had before, and that view, and everyone's looking at a buffalo running down the field and the team behind them, but now you're doing it in almost 32 by 9 wide, that's going to be awesome. Now, the unfortunate part is that when you're driving it, you don't really get to see it or experience it, so I will just have to hear it from people. But to see it in that kind of aspect ratio, I think, is going to be amazing.
Nice.
How about you, Jason? Is there anything you're looking forward to the most with it here coming up in a couple days?
The first game being a 6 p.m. kickoff and knowing that, as we cruise into halftime in the second half, it's going to start to get dark, and just how bright the board is compared to how our old board was just small. And so, I mean, this board at night is gorgeous. Yeah. And the ribbons, I mean, I'm excited for that too.
We had an all-night test a couple weeks ago. And I got a text from an old administrator who doesn't even work here anymore. He lives 5 miles away from here. And he texts me at midnight. And he's like, why is the light shining into my living room from your video board? Because he knew what it was. And that's how bright it is. And obviously in a place like Boulder, there's not that much artificial light. So it is really bright.
Yeah.
But it's amazing.
Yeah, it's advertising. You're trying to get them to come to a game.
That's right.
Yes, just get in here.
Or land planes or whatever we're doing. Yeah.
There's always those sneak peeks of what people do with displays before they actually use them. There was one time we were starting up, I can't remember what football stadium it was, but they were doing all the color tests. And the news holograph from like a long ways away saying it looks like a UFO landed on the field because there was just constant different colors and it was lighting up the night sky.
Yeah.
And then you remember the Royals when they got their board.
Yep.
They started testing out by players playing like Mario Kart.
Yeah. There was some discussion about
the news, like, oh, we're testing out with Mario Kart. How there's just a bunch of players in the stands
like putting Xbox on there and playing and things like that.
You get them have tournaments with people on the 50-yard line playing on the big screen.
Right. We try to get people away from that because that means our staff has to come in. And as a grown man and a video professional, I can't justify coming in.
That's
I wasn't trying to make more work for you there.
We tried to bury it because I don't really know that I want to spend my staff coming in to watch people play Xbox.
So is there anything else about the new system that you're really looking forward to that we haven't covered yet? I know you talked about the first game and some of the things you can do with it now.
Yeah, I would just add that, a lot of our fans haven't seen it yet. And so just coming up to the entrances on the south side of the stadium on Thursday night and being able to see it for the first time in person. A lot of people have seen it on social media and all of those channels, right? But seeing the magnitude of what we constructed and then transitioning to the inside of the stadium and see it operating for yourself instead of through your phone, I think that'll be a great difference. And I'm looking forward to that experience for our fans.
Yeah. I'll echo that. We see pictures of installations, and sometimes we rarely get to go on site and see them. And we're fortunate to be here today to see this one, and it makes a huge difference seeing it instead of on your phone, like you said.
I've been showing my friends and family pictures of it for 9 months, and it looks great. And I'm like,
I've seen those before. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and obviously, time of day makes a huge impact on any video board in any stadium. But with the flat irons the way it is, if you came here at 8 a.m. with sunrise or 6 a.m. and at noon and then at 10 p.m. when it's dark, the contrast of how that board affects our stadium is huge. And it's more so than any other place I've ever seen.
Okay.
Just because you have the way the sun rises and the flat irons are orange, and then midday everything's lit up, and then at night when it's backlit, and then when it's dark, it glows. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, it really, really is.
Yeah, we're really excited for it here in a couple of days. Something we like to do when we wrap these up though is to ask people what advice would they give someone else if they're going to go through a similar type of. So we can start with you, Jason. But it's like, all right, if another college is going through essentially a renovation, right, of an older technology and going to a newer one, what is some advice that you would give them? Based off of what you learned here over the last year or two?
I would say for me, it's like I could have built a board and I could have picked the shape and all of those things, but I don't have to run it. I think that just make sure just making sure you're collaborative, because at the end of the day, Deric's got to operate the board in the most efficient way possible. And so having his team drive some of the conversation when it comes to design, don't think you know what you should build based off of the size of your old board. Let the people that are experts weigh in so that they can make sure that they have something that they can utilize that is efficient. And every square inch of that board needs to serve a purpose.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I would say that, as well as, just start early.
Yeah.
Start early.
Give yourself time.
Everything takes longer. We were fortunate on this project that, our electrical components on the power side of things came in on time, and that's been the industry standard in construction over the last handful of years. Is just the electrical components, transformers, and all that stuff are really hard to come by. So I think we did a good job early of ordering the long lead item equipment that we needed. Even though we didn't have the full design, we knew we needed this piece of equipment. Let's get it ordered, and then we'll figure out how exactly it looks when we're done.
Just get the order in.
Yeah. So give yourself time, because you can't control. We could have that thing standing there, but if we don't have a transformer, it doesn't turn on.
I've heard that before from some of our install techs being like, board's ready to go, just waiting on power to get here.
Right.
It's real.
And how about from your perspective?
Don't forget about your nerds. And that's the thing that Jason and our athletics.
That's what I said. I know, of course.
I just simplified it.
You talked in a nice way.
Our athletic director, Rick George, and Jason, all the administrators, they included us and everything, because you have to consider your show when you're building the technology. If you just built it and an integrator came in and said, here you go, good luck, it's not going to match how you do your things. And so we took the technology and combined that with how we do our show and made it one thing. So now with 30 days to get ready, it's not been as difficult versus if we had to start from scratch and we had to figure out how are we going to make a show out of this brand new thing, we would be in deep trouble. So again, they included me every step of the way after they sort of signed the papers and figured out where to drill holes and put steel. They included us in that process a little bit. So don't forget about your nerds.
There you go. Yeah, and we're excited to see the show you guys put together here, along with the whole thing with the full stadium in a couple days at your first game. But thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with us about your renovations here at Folsom Field.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.